Ready.
Which is now. Welcome, 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 you all. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled that you have found us here on Crime Time on a mighty blaze. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15, going on 16 novels of suspense. My current novel is One Wrong Word, which, as you see, is on the door behind me because that's where we, I can do. For 4 years, I've been trying to point to this, and I still have not figured out StreamYard and Zoom. Anyway, that's my 15th novel. The 16th, All This Could Be Yours, is coming out next year, and you'll hear about that when the time comes. But the time is now to talk about Only One Survives by the brilliant, fabulous, iconic, wonderful, marvelous, inimitable Hannah Mary McKinnon, one of the dearest people in the universe and one of the really most talented writers. Even if I didn't love Hannah so much, I would love this book. It is impressive. It is propulsive. Oh, me too. It is propulsive. It is immersive. It's unique and original. Wait till you hear about it. It's a whole new world for Hannah, really. She is an accomplished suspense author, and we'll hear more about that in a minute. But this book delves into the world of rock bands, a female rock band. It's sort of Ruth Ware meets Daisy Jones and the Six. And does that sound great? It is absolutely marvelous. So Hannah, Pub Day is Tuesday, and we are so honored. Look at everybody who's here. Here's Diane Dick and Julie Brinkley and Katie Waslin Crutchfield is here, and Barbara is here, and Deborah Press, hooray, hooray, and Emily and Shannon Hansen and Shoe Street. So many people are here today to hear about Only One Survives, and we are the pre-celebration celebration. But when next Tuesday comes, hey Barbara, what special things do you have planned? Anything special?
I'm going to have my first book TV appearance. Actually, I've never been on TV. I've been on TV before for other stuff, but never for a book. So that's what I'm going to be doing on Tuesday morning on CHCH TV at 8:50. If anyone's there to tune in for about 5 minutes, blink and you'll miss me. And then I'll also be on the radio a little bit later. And then, of course, we have our very own party online, our virtual launch, don't we, Hank? On Thursday next week on the 16th at 7:30.
Yes, and that is going to be incredibly fun. Tuesday the 16th at 7:30 with Robin Harding and Christina McDonald and the fabulous Hannah with a triple threat launched, and I'll be attempting to moderate them. Can you imagine moderating those three? That's going to be pretty fun. And so there'll be all kinds of marvelous extras. Please go to Hannah's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, because you will not believe what is about to happen on her social media platforms. Did you put up something today about it? Can you give us a hint?
I did. I actually just about 20 minutes ago, I posted a reel on Instagram and Facebook, and thanks to a reminder, I must put it on TikTok. I'm not well versed in TikTok just yet. I'll get there. As of tomorrow, we are starting a very different promotional campaign for Only One Survives that actually involves mockumentary videos. So the mockumentaries feature people such as our very own Hank, of course, as herself, the reporter, but also as somebody else. You'll have to watch to find out. But I also have other authors who are participating, special guests, and lots of bookstagrams, so readers who made little video clips for us. And we're going to be posting one a day as of tomorrow and for quite some time. So they're all different, they're all unique, they're all such fun, and it's just very, very different. It feels very, very special, actually, to get so many people involved.
I got an email from Hannah this morning, I think. And even your email, Hannah, is just I can feel the excitement coming all the way from Toronto to Boston in your email of how marvelous this is going to be. Deborah Ledford says, hey, Deborah, welcome. Excited to hear about your latest, Hannah. And Sylvia is here. And Anissa Yeh is here. And Grace is here. Kathy Lanning and Brenda Gaskell. So marvelous to see you all. And I bet some of you are doing those Instagram videos for Hannah. That will be really fun to see. Hannah and Hank, says Mary Garrett, appearing at the same time. That should put some rumors to rest. that we are the same person.
Well, we are. We pre-recorded this.
That's so funny. Which of us is pretending to be the other? We are not going to go there. We're not going to go there. I'm going to welcome all of you to Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. If you are new, and I see some of you are new, and that is marvelous. We love that. If you are new to Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze, you should know that A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic about 4 years ago by the marvelous powerhouse duo of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, to keep us discovering new books and keep us talking about books and bringing our reading and writing community together. And a couple dozen of us volunteers have kept this going for all this time, and we persevere because we absolutely love it, and we absolutely love bringing you a new author here on Crime Time every Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET, and we're honored that you have come to join us. Yes, Margaret in the back room is reminding me that if you leave a question or a comment, you will be entered to win a copy of Only One Survives, which you are lucky. The rest of you, if you are not so lucky to win when we spin the wheel of fun, you know what to do. Click, 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 run. Go to your favorite bookstore and pre-order Only One Survives. You will not be able to put it down. But one of you, when we spin the wheel of fun, will not be having to do that unless you get it for a gift, which is also a good point. Like, Hannah can't say this stuff to you. Hannah can't push the sales of her book, but I can. Let me tell you very, very quickly about Hannah, and then we will finally get to her questions. Internationally best-selling author Hannah Mary McKinnon was born in the UK, grew up in Switzerland, and moved to Canada in 2010. While her debut, Time After Time, was a rom-com, she transitioned to the dark side thereafter. Doesn't she look dark? She looks so mean and evil and sinister. Her 7 suspense novels include Never Coming Home, The Revenge List, and Only One Survives, and her work has been optioned for the screen. It's rumored Hannah has a softer side because she also writes holiday romantic comedies as Holly Cassidy, the first of which is The Christmas Wager. Hannah Mary lives in Oakville, Ontario, Canada, with her husband and 3 sons. She is also the founder and now co-host of First Chapter Fun, which, if you do not know about, every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. ET, Hannah or I read the first chapter of a wonderful new book. So if you out loud, not just on screen, we read it. So when you get a moment, if you are not a member of the private group First Chapter Fun, click, 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 and join us so you can hear. Next week is episode 381. But today on Crime Time, we are talking about Only One Survives by Hannah Mary McKinnon. Of course, Hannah, tell us what this book is about.
Oh, with pleasure. So the elevator pitch is, this book is the story about the rise and very violent demise of the all-female pop rock group called the Bittersweet, when, after a tragic and fatal car accident, one of the members decides that perhaps the band is worth more dead than alive.
The band is worth more dead than alive. Is that perfect, you all? That is just the best line. Talk a little bit about where this book came from and the name, The Bittersweet. It's so realistic. How did you decide to write? I mean, I know you're a woman of many talents, but rock and roll, I did not know this about you. Talk a little bit about the genesis of this book and where it came from.
Sure. So the very, 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 very first idea actually came from when I was driving back from somewhere on a cold winter's day, and not far from my house, out in the countryside, I drove past an old derelict house, and I spotted something written on the door. So I pulled over. I was with one of my kids, and we pulled over and took a closer look. And this is this really old, decrepit, dilapidated, looks like a haunted house, basically. And somebody had spray painted "Come Play" in big red letters. And the paint had run a little bit, and it looked really, really eerie. And I took a picture. I didn't go in because I'm complete. Did not go in. And I took a picture. I thought that would be such a cool thing. That house just spoke to me, if you like. And so I noodled around, and I was working on something else. And I noodled around the idea a little bit. And I came up with an idea that involved work colleagues. And I wrote a paragraph and I sent it, and an old house. And I sent it to my editor and she said, well, do people really want to read about work? Don't they want to escape work? Yeah, good point. So I decided I wanted to write about a group of friends because that was something I hadn't done before.
Mm.
And I was chatting with Jennifer Hillier and Sam Bailey. And I said, I've got this scenario that they're work colleagues, but I don't want them to be work colleagues. I want them to be friends, but not a book club because that feels too tame, although I'm sure there are lots of book clubs out there that aren't. But it felt a little bit too tame. And it was Sam Bailey, actually, who wrote back and said, could you make them a band? And I thought, yes, I can. And one of them thinks that the band is now, for whatever reason, worth more dead than alive. And the idea morphed completely, but I actually have Sam to thank for that because she was the one who said, can you make them a band? 6 words changed everything.
It's so interesting because when a writer gets a good idea, there's this chill that you get. And you can almost, not that it writes the whole book, but you can feel the fullness of a novel in an idea. Is that how this felt to you? Even though you didn't know the whole story, you had this realization that this could work.
Yes and no, because very strangely, the plot eluded me for a while. It just didn't fit together. And I was starting to panic because I'm not somebody who ever misses deadlines, ever. It's just not what I do. And I remember my deadline for the outline was June the 30th, 2 years ago. And I'm getting closer and closer, and I've sat with it for a few weeks, which was not normal for me to spend that much time, and it wasn't working, it wasn't coming together. So I made an emergency call to my editor and I said, look, I'm stuck. And she said, don't worry, let's just bounce ideas around. So we got on the phone probably for about 2 hours, actually. I was sitting out in my garden and she was making some suggestions and we're bouncing ideas around. I thought, yes, I've got it. And I got very excited. And I wrote half of the plot because the book is in 2 very distinct parts.
Right, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
And I outlined the first part. Nope, that went okay. And I hit, not chapter 1, but chapter whatever, the first bit of part 2, and I hit a wall. And I was starting to panic again. And I sent her an email. I said, well, I've got all of this, but then what? And she said, well, have you thought about this? And that was it. I was off again, which shows how instrumental editors are, truly. And it turned out that even though it's my longest book, it was the fastest book to write, which is completely bizarre because I think I started writing it middle of August. And by middle of December, I was done. And when I mean done, I mean ready to send it to my editor. Not a first draft for me, but completely ready to send to my editor, which was really quick, the fastest I've ever written anything. So maybe it was because the whole plotting process was so torturous that the universe gave me a break as I was writing it. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, the universe may have given you a break, but it also may have been that it was just the right idea, that it was relatable, that it made sense, that it was thematically strong, that readers would be drawn into the story and drawn into the characters. The band, The Bittersweet, which we meet from the moment that it was born. Can you talk a little bit about the women of The Bittersweet, who they are, and where that name came from?
Sure. The name honestly popped into my head. It seemed to be quite random, really. And I wanted a band with the, because epic bands have a the. I mean, not only epic bands, not all, but that was what I was going for. And it ties into the relationship really between the 2 founders of the band. So the 2 founders are Vienna Taylor and Madison Pierce, who meet on the first day of 12th grade in high school. And they get into a bit of an argument. And at first impressions are not good. But then they discover they have this love of music. And Madison comes from a very privileged background. Vienna does not. But although Madison's family has money, the whole family is lacking in other things, such as love and support and those kinds of things, which Vienna is lacking too with her mum and her stepdad. So very different upbringings, but this shared love of music. And they form an initial band together called MV, which is M for Madison and V for Vienna. It sounds like envy, which plays into the themes of the book, which I'm quite proud of that. I have to say, I thought, oh, that's quite clever. You know, when we get those little moments, we think, oh, well, that's
I crack myself up.
Yeah, MV. So that's their initial band. But then when they get to New York, they expand the band to include 3 other members. And there's Isabel, there's Evelina, and Gabby as well. So they then form the 5 that are in the Bittersweet.
And I love, there's part of the Only One Survives. If you've just joined us, we're talking about Only One Survives, which comes out next Tuesday from the fabulous Hannah Mary McKinnon, which I insist on saying is Ruth Ware meets Daisy Jones, and which lets you know how it's a great story, gorgeously told, about an all-female rock band. Even the formation of the band, you take us through the selection of the other members of the band. An all-female rock band is certainly not unheard of. There are plenty of them, but it's still not the norm.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that and why that's so cool, and how you did research to find out how female band members would really behave and deal with each other and what they would think was important.
So I knew nothing about the music world. I'm not musical in the least. I was very gently asked to leave the school band because I couldn't read music and I couldn't play the recorder properly, and they were right to do so. And so putting the band together was really a challenge because I didn't know the whole industry. So there are a couple of things that helped. One, the whole the chain of, not command, but the chain of record company, manager, band or musician is very similar to publisher, agent, author, or from my corporate background, client, recruitment company, candidate. So sure. Very much the same structure. So that I got in it very quickly. I understood how that works. You know, what does a band manager do? But I have a very good friend from high school, my high school years, called Roger, who is in the book as Roger Kent. He allowed me to immortalize him as Roger Kent in the book. He's the band's manager. He is a band manager and has managed musicians for years and years and has been in the music industry for about 30 years. So we caught up via Zoom. I think we spent about 3 hours or 3.5 hours on Zoom, you know, half of it just catching up what's been going on because we hadn't seen each other for ages. And then we talked about the band and how it would work and how they would get together and how the dynamics of the band and how they might release a song and what the language is too, because I didn't know what the language was. You know, an A&R manager, an artist and repertoire manager, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that was the term for what these people do. And how you might release a song independently rather than with a record label, and how the royalties work and that kind of thing. So he was instrumental, if you'll allow the pun, in helping me putting all of this together. And Roger actually read an early version. It was really sweet because he read it and then we had another Zoom. And whenever we talked about, you know, whatever we talked about with the band, he would say, and my girls, you know, these girls, the girls, and they became so real to us. It was quite strange how when we were talking about the Bittersweet, it actually felt as if they were real. You know, they are real. To me, they are, you know.
And to people who read this novel, Only One Survives, they are too. And you cleverly let us sort of learn about the music business with them.
Yes.
As they learn how to manage it and and what the struggles are and what the difficulties and what the obstacles are. We're learning about it as they do. So we become comfortable with this new world as you worked so hard about it. Mary Kubica gave you a great endorsement. And let me just read it because I think it's so wise thematically about this novel. She says, and we love Mary Kubica, of course, a raw, honest exploration of female friendships, envy, and the price of fame. So those themes are also, and there we have it. Thank you, Margaret, on the screen. Those themes are also in the top of mind of this novel. Which of those themes came first? And then how did the others evolve? Female friendship, envy, and the cost of fame, the price of fame.
I think the first one was friendship, honestly, because that was what I decided I wanted to write about. And Madison and Vienna have a very complicated relationship because they love each other deeply. They really do. But they also have this dynamic where I think there's a line in the book where Vienna says that we don't want the other one to do better than us, not because we don't want them to do better, but because we fear being left behind. We don't want to be left behind. That's what it is, because they have such messed up family dynamics. They don't have a lot of friends. They really only have each other. And if one of them somehow does better than the other one, then well, the other one just grabs onto those coattails and hangs on for dear life because they do not want to be left alone. So that came first. And then with the band, building around that, how does that work with a band when you have one musician or one band member who is more revered, more liked, more admired than another one? What does that do to the other band members? Some will be comfortable with that, others will not. And one of the things in the book that I hadn't done before was to include social media comments.
Well, let's talk about that in a second, because I want to go to that very specifically, because I think that is such a cool part of the book. But I think what you're saying, again, it's so poignant, talking about that they don't want to be left behind. And, going forward to the price of fame as a theme, I can imagine, every kid wants to be, I say generalizing, every kid wants to be a rock star when they grow up. And part of the rock star is skill, but the other part, I think people mean, is the adulation and the admiration that just washes over you. And to your point about someone who liked someone better, I mean, think of all the times that, well, you probably didn't because you weren't born, but we all said, do you like George better? Do you like Ringo better? Do you like Paul better? And it's set up as a competition.
It is.
Talk a little bit about that dynamic in your novel and how that affects the women in the band.
Yeah, happily. So that's such a great question. So they played a school concert as MV. Yeah, this is great. This is 12th grade, right? So they're 17, 18, they're really, really young. And the book also has newspaper articles. So there's kind of mixed media in the book. And at the end of the newspaper article, there are the social media comments. And so immediately there, the people start with hashtag Team Vienna or hashtag Team Madison immediately. So these girls are 17, 18, young women, and the comments are, oh, well, I'm team hashtag Team Vienna. What are you? Oh, I'm hashtag Team Madison. She's way cuter and her guitar skills are off the charts and this kind of stuff. And one person does say, hold on a second, these are high school students, and yet you're comparing them. What are you doing? And one of the comments says, oh, calm down. A few social media comments never hurt anyone. And that was quite deliberate because they do all the time. And I wanted to show how these comments that for those who make them, including myself sometimes, certainly in the past, we feel that they're not that important, they're not hurting anyone. Well, how can we be sure? How can we be sure that they don't? So that was why I wanted to include that too, because you think at 17, 18, or any age really, these things can really leave their mark and can make things really difficult, and then create this really weird dynamic in the band. And this happened also before social media. Let's, like you said, with the Beatles, of course, that would have been the case already anyway. But I thought that was really interesting to explore and to then show from the musician's point of view how they feel about those comments when they see them, and what it can do to them, and how it can affect their creativity and the band in general.
Did you talk? You have 3 sons who are teenagers. Did you talk with them about how they feel about bands and how they talk about bands and how the bands they love?
Yeah, no, not really, actually. I don't think I did that. I mean, they like music; they're music fans, but they're not avid concert goers. In that sense, I don't think they. No, I don't think I did. Interestingly
That
enough.
is interesting
Yeah,
because you don't have daughters, but you have sons who are sort of the age that
yeah.
have been the age that the girls were. It's so funny, and you didn't even run by cool jargon dialogue by them.
It's some of it, yeah. Some of the dialogue and stuff, yeah, definitely. I would say, would somebody a few years younger than you say this? Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But I don't think I don't
No.
actually remember specifically saying about bands and stuff. But they are on social media. Um, but what's interesting is that they don't use it an awful lot.
Oh, very
Yeah,
wise. Very
yeah,
wise.
they use some, but not as much as I would have thought. I use it more than they do.
That's great. That shows you where we all are in the world. We're talking about Only One Survives by Hannah Mary McKinnon, the latest blockbuster that comes out next Tuesday about an all-female band where someone decides maybe the band is better off dead than alive. Hannah, what's the line again that's so perfect?
The band that one of them decides that the band is worth more dead than alive.
Worth more dead than alive. I love that, even if I got it wrong. Two things about the structure of this novel, and let's talk about them separately if we can. One of the things that you alluded to is that it's not just text of the novel, not just dialogue, but there's social media, there are transcripts from podcasts, there are posts from Instagram influencers and various other influencers, newspaper articles, all kinds of things like that. Did you write those? First of all, that's so cool. Second, did you write them during, before, after, as needed? Talk a little bit about how you juggle that.
So, because I'm such a heavy plotter, I outlined all of this beforehand, so I knew where I would want to drop the different newspaper articles or the radio interview transcripts. And I knew that after that there are two blog posts, one at the beginning of part one, the second one at the beginning of part two. And there are social media comments on those and also on the newspaper articles. So as I outlined it, I was thinking, okay, what am I trying to convey? What am I trying to say? And how can I say it differently? And where's the best place to drop these different bits and bobs, if you like? So it was very I was quite strategic in the planning. I wrote it. I actually wrote the book the way one would read it, with the exception of part one, because the part one has a non-linear timeline, meaning it doesn't start in one place and then move forward from there. There are flashbacks to how Vienna, or chapters set in the past, how Vienna and Madison meet, and then interspersed very short chapters at the cabin after this fatal car accident, when the surviving members end up at this creepy cabin. And those scenes, the cabin scenes, I wrote, I think, at the end of part one, when I finished part one. And then I wrote them in linear fashion and then split them up and wove them in, because that was what made most sense to me. Because if you take those chapters out and read them, they go in linear fashion, and so does the rest of part one. But I had to weave it all, chop it up.
That's what I was going to ask you about. That was the other part of the structure question, is that it's almost written in parallel timelines,
Yes.
woven together.
Yes, exactly.
And let's go back to that in a second, because I don't want to let go of the social media posts as a technique. Because one of the things about the transcripts and the blogs and the newspaper articles and social media posts is that it is a very efficient way to put forth information and opinion very, very quickly.
Yes.
How was that fun to do? Jacinta says, so interesting to hear how the book took shape. Looking forward to reading it.
Oh.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, Jacinta, is that you are so aware of what things we should be drawn into, and what things you need to know this, you need to know this, you need to know this.
Honestly, the radio interviews transcripts were so much fun to write. I really, there are three people. There's the host and three hosts really on the radio show. What's on NYC, totally made up. as far as I know, that doesn't exist. I hope not, otherwise I might be in trouble. But when I Googled it, I couldn't see a show of that name. And they were really, really fun because I love dialogue. Writing dialogue was one of my favorite things. And so to have that transcript of these three people, the banter between these three people and the jokes and stuff, was really, really, really fun. I'd never done that before. I'd written a couple of news articles, well, not really news articles, but little excerpts, I suppose, that would be built into the narrative, but not as separate chapters. So that was really interesting to explore as well, because it's quite a different way of writing. As you know, as a journalist, it's far more succinct and just very, these are the facts, and off you go. So that was, they were really fun. They were really fun to do, and really fun to just, as you said, give this information in a very efficient and different way, and have people perhaps think something that isn't necessarily true.
Exactly. Isn't that what the sleight of hand of Hannah Mary McKinnon at work to make us say, to make us look one way when we should be looking the next, or when someone has a misperception or a miscalculation or a misunderstanding, and that propels the novel forward. And those little snippets you put in, so carefully written. I mean, that's the interesting thing that I want you all to know. These are not just banged out things. Every single word is there for a reason, and to shepherd us as readers to believe a certain thing, which I will not go into. As the time runs quickly out, one of the many things I love about this novel, not only that it's realistic and terrifying and twisty and turny and surprising, and I'm not going to talk about any about that because it's Hannah Mary McKinnon, and it's going to be twisty and turny and surprising. Yeah, Lucy says, based on my previous reading, and this cabins are low on my vacation plans. Absolutely wise. But they wind up there by a circumstance, so you'll find out about that when you read. Back to the music part, and I love the musical feeling of this novel. And one of the things that's so brilliant of you is that no matter what, I don't know how to put this, musical generation you are, this is still relatable. I mean, obviously, you and I came from different high school generations of music. So many of you are here. Vicky Gregory says, excited to read, only one survives. Robin says, I don't know if my thought is statistically accurate, but the memories of the sea of screaming female fans is what came to my mind. Yeah, I mean,
I mentioned actually, yeah.
And I cried. I mean, I watched Ed Sullivan with the Beatles and cried. I'm sure you know bands that I don't know, and I'm sure I know bands that you don't know. And still, this book speaks to all of us. Can you talk a little bit about how you juggle that and to make it be the essential essence of music, not specifics of bands?
Yeah. So Vienna is heavily influenced by her grandmother. So her grandmother loved the Beatles and Queen, and the older bands, I guess, the Rolling Stones, who are still around, of course. But that's where she gets her love of music from. So there's a lot of music mentioned from 70s, 80s, which will be my era, 90s, and beyond. And so I really wanted to be able to include 80s music, 70s, 80s music. That's what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. So it was important to find a way to make that feel real, even though Vienna she's 17, 18 when the book starts. So why does she like music from that era? Well, it's because of her grandmother. And with Madison, it's because she had a nanny who loved that kind of music. And they used to play this game where they play a few bars of a tune and they'd guess that tune. And so that's another reason why they get along so well. And so I was really looking at music that people would like from over the past 50 years, mm-hmm. To be able to incorporate that. So it wasn't just, it's the music of the 2000s or the 2020s or 2010, whatever. I wanted to have a broader appeal because you hear a song. Let's take one song that's in the book, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, which came out 40 years ago. I think it was in the early 80s. And it was a hit, but it just became a massive hit again because of the TV show Stranger Things.
Uh-huh.
It became massive and it went to number one. I think it was the longest delay, I think, between a song coming out and going to number one in England was Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. And when you hear that song, it could have been made this year easily, you know, because it feels modern, it feels fresh, and a whole new generation or generations discovered it, which I think is just fantastic. Because just because, like books really, just because a song comes out today doesn't mean that people of whatever age now or in 20 years won't enjoy that song. So that was how I thought about it. You know, what can I incorporate that spans a couple of generations rather than just one? So I was quite deliberate in that too.
Yes, and that comes through. That completely comes through. And also in a way of balancing, we understand how shared music brings us together. That if I know a song and you know a song, and we say, "Oh, did you hear that song X, Y, and Z?" and you say, "Oh, yeah, I love that," then I automatically think, well, she likes the same song I like, so I like her.
Yeah.
And it's sort of automatic. My father was the music critic for the Chicago Daily News a million years ago, and also has written 2 nonfiction books about American music, one of which is called What They Heard, where he researched the playlists, the banners and the posters and the advertisements for every concert in Boston late in the 1800s to talk about what it was that people heard, what music they liked, what musicians they were hearing, what composers they loved, which concerts sold out, and why that worked. And so music, as you've done so beautifully in this thriller, can bring us together, and it can also tear us apart. And people are asking what you're doing for Pub Day. Celebrating this book is going to be so much fun, Hannah. You talked about your public performances, public appearances, I guess I should say, although performances. Personally, though, for you, what does this book mean?
I think this one is really, they're all special. All of my books are special. This one feels different in the sense that it really stretched me as an author, which I always try to do with every single book. I try to do something different, you know, something that I really haven't done before. And because of the different social media, or the different media in the books, that's one aspect. But also we added bonus material to enhance the reading experience. And so to do that, because there was, and this is coming from someone who's not musical, so people who heard me saying that before are going to laugh at this, but there are 6 songs, titles of 6 songs mentioned in the book. And so I wrote the lyrics to those songs, not the tune. No, just the lyrics. And that means a lot too, because it really is something different that I've never attempted. And I just, you know, writing about female friendship isn't something I've done before. All of the different media isn't something I've done before. The additional bonus material that's on my website that people can grab isn't something I've done before. So in that sense, it does feel really, really special, I have to say. And I hope that people are really enjoying or will enjoy it when they get around to reading it.
And Nisa is already saying, loved the format of the book, and it is my favorite Hannah Mary McKinnon book, of course. How do we get our grubby mitts, as you say? How do we get our grubby mitts on the bonus material?
On the bonus material, you go to hannahmarymckinnon.com, and there's a big orange button right there on the front page. It says free bonus material. Just do not, whatever you do not read the discussion questions before you've read the book, because there are spoilers in there. So don't.
Discussion questions. I should have read the discussion questions. I'll do that, I promise, Hannah. I will go.
Spoilers.
I should have done. Oh yes, there are spoilers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's Q&A time. Margaret is reminding me we could just go on and on and on about Only One Survives. Julie says, "Hey Julie, did you have a song or soundtrack in your mind as you wrote the novel?" Is there a
Yes, and there's a playlist in the free bonus material. So there's tons. In fact, I think I think I made sure that every song I mention in the book, or at least a song from each artist in the book, at least one, is on the playlist. There's a Spotify playlist. You can Google that on Spotify, or you can go to hannahmarymckinnon.com and get the bonus material with a Spotify link.
Is there a song that was going through your mind as you were writing from time to time, or the ones you were using?
Yeah, funnily enough, Ultravox is Vienna, because the main character's name is Vienna. So that one was going through my head quite a lot, actually. Yeah.
And you all, when you read this book, and I know you will, look at Hannah Mary McKinnon's names. They are spectacular and original. I've never had any characters with those names before. So really, really good. Who else has a question, Margaret? Do you take time off between books, or are you constantly?
Time off? What's that? Well, actually, now I just today sent off the manuscript for next year's thriller to my editor, my agent. So that's done. So now I'm taking time off by doing a lot of the promotion for Only One Survives. And I think as of August, I'll be thinking about the next one. So yeah, there'll be a little bit of time. But we're always working on something. We're always either writing something or editing something or promoting something or but yeah, yes, I do have time off, but I have to plan it properly. Otherwise, I'm a bit of a workaholic. I'm a lot of a workaholic.
Yeah. I mean, and let me remind you that August is like tomorrow. But you need to bask in the glory of this novel. This is going to be so much fun when it comes out next Tuesday. One more question. You have time for one more question, Hannah?
Of course, as many as you like.
Okay, perfect. Will you be coming to Deborah, yes. Will you be coming to the U.S. for a tour?
There's no US tour planned at the moment. I hope that I will be back in the US next year for Thriller Fest in New York. That's in June, middle of June. I think they've shifted the dates a little bit. I know that I'm going to be on at a couple of conferences and events within the next 12 months in Canada, though. Mm-hmm. But yes, the US tour, that would be nice. But there's no big tour in the works. But I will let you know.
But I'm just going to get Hannah to come to Boston. I mean, just hop on a little plane, come to Boston, stay with us. We'll do the rounds. We'll do the rounds. And I do want to remind you that Hannah will be in the back room on Sunday. So go to the-back-room.org. Sign up for the back room. It's free, but space is limited. You'll be able to ask questions via Zoom, at least up close and personal, to Hannah and to Jacqueline Winspear and Lori Roy and Wanda M. Morris. So if you want to talk to those authors up close and Zoom personal, sign up for Sunday, the-back-room.org. Yay, says Barbara, signed up for the back room already. That was fast. That was good. One last question. Let's take one last question before the Hank will make you a sandwich. This is an inside joke. Marlene says, we rely on you to get her to Boston. Christy Woodson Harvey, who you love and know, whose new book, A Happier Life, is just out, came to Boston. And we did 2 events together on Sunday. And the first one was in the morning at the Marblehead Arts Festival. And the other one was in the afternoon at an Unlikely Story. So we had this little interstitial time. So we had an hour and we thought, what are we going to do? So I said, come to our house. We'll make lunch. So I made turkey sandwiches for everyone.
Nice.
And Christy, I thought in the car on the way home, I thought, I just invited her to lunch. I don't know if I have any food. It was just impossible. I did it. Anissa knows that it was really fun. Robin says slumber party at Hank's. That sounds just great. So I promise you all, we will get her to Boston by hook or crook, and we can celebrate first chapter fun and Only One Survives in person. One of you will win this novel. Let's spin the wheel of fun and see who that will be. Look at all of you who are here. Is that so fun?
It's really fun. I love it.
Yeah, the winner is Katie. Oh, no, Mighty Blaze can't win. This is Margaret in the back room. This shows you it's random, though, right? This shows you Margaret is spinning again. We're going to make someone else win. I know Margaret wants your book, though, anyway. And the winner is Deborah Press. That is so marvelous. Wanting you to come to Boston. Deborah, that's great. We love when you win. That's so marvelous. You're such a stalwart and such a wonderful veteran of Crime Time. So you'll get some info on how to email me and I will email our executive producer, and she will email Hannah's manager, and then you will get a copy of the book. And that's how it works. Thank you so much for everything today. Hannah, talk about a rock star. You are such a rock star, and this is an amazing book, and I can't wait for everyone to read it. We are sending you off with much joy and delight, knowing that you're having a marvelous launch. How are you feeling right now?
I'm excited. I'm so excited. This is one of the first events I've done for Only One Survives, and it's starting to feel very real that it's publishing a week today. So I'm really excited. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you.
Congratulations. It is going to be a whirlwind, a fabulous whirlwind. Julie, thank you for coming. Quick thank you, Vicki. Thanks for a great discussion. She says it was. Hannah's marvelous. And you absolutely cannot go wrong with a Hannah Mary McKinnon. But before I let her go, let me point you to next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET, where we'll have Ace Atkins, who is a brilliant Southern author. He's written many books, including the Spencer series, took over the Spencer series from Robert B. Parker. This is a new thriller, a suspense thriller, a PI thriller, starring a character who he's been wanting to write about for a very long time. No less than S.A. Cosby said, it's an instant, he said it better than I did. S.A. Cosby says, it's an instant Southern noir classic, and that is Don't Let the Devil Ride by Ace Atkins, who's the coolest guy in the world. So come next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET and meet Ace Atkins and hear about Don't Let the Devil Ride. Until then, we are so pleased that you are here, Hannah. Yay, congratulations. Thank you. And thank all of you for coming. And remember, until next week, it is always safe inside a book. And we'll see you next time. Love you.